Back in 1999, as The Independent reports, a young woman named Hae Min Lee, 18, disappeared after leaving her Maryland high school for the day. A few weeks later, after extensive searching, her body was found in a shallow grave, having been murdered via strangulation. Her boyfriend, Adnan Syed, was charged with her murder and would eventually be tried and convicted. What followed would be 2 decades of Syed steadfastly maintaining his innocence. The legal drama surrounding this murder dragged on for more than 20 years, even
coming up in a popular podcast, Serial. Courts issued various rulings as time wore on, culminating in the alleged murderer being released from prison in September 2022, pending a possible new trial. For now, questions remain about whether or not Syed truly was Lee's killer, and if so, whether or not she will ever get justice. In Syed's case, the question is open as to whether he's a murderer or was simply the victim of overzealous prosecutors. Hae Min Lee was born in South Korea, according to the Baltimore Sun. When she was a preteen, she, her mother, and her brother emigrated to the United States, and the family moved in with older relatives. Within a few years, she was a thriving teenager. She was a student athlete at Woodlawn High School, where she participated in lacrosse and field hockey, and managed the wrestling team. She reportedly had career aspirations to be an optician. At some point in her teen years, Lee began dating Adnan Syed. Her brother would later say that although the family never met him, they were unaware of any problems between Lee and Syed. Lee was last seen alive on January 13, 1999, after she left her school with the intention of picking up her niece and then going to her after-school job. After she failed to turn up, her family reported her missing, setting off searches as well as interviews with Lee's friends. Weeks later, her body was found. Upon the discovery of Hae Min Lee's remains, attention turned to her boyfriend Adnan Syed, who was 17 at the time. He was charged with first-degree murder, robbery, kidnapping, and false imprisonment, and convicted of all charges. Syed was sentenced to life plus 30 years. Prosecutors operated on the hypothesis that Lee had started dating another man and that Syed wasn't going to allow that to happen. Syed was convicted largely on the testimony of his friend Jay Wilds, who testified that Syed had said he planned to kill Lee. Further, Wilds testified that he helped Syed bury Lee. Cell phone records purportedly corroborated Wilds' version of events. Further still, another witness also corroborated at least some of Wilds' testimony. Adnan Syed would steadfastly maintain his innocence even as he was incarcerated and facing the possibility of decades behind bars. However, true crime podcasts became popular while Syed was incarcerated, and in 2014, the podcast Serial took a look at his case. The podcast pointed out multiple problems in the prosecutor's case against Syed, including the fact that a potential alibi never got the chance to testify. Her testimony would have placed Syed at a local library instead of at the crime scene, according to the New York Times. Further still, Wilds' testimony was inconsistent, and the accuracy of the phone records that supposedly placed Syed at the crime scene have been called into question. What's more, there were 2 other suspects in the case that the prosecution knew about, yet they withheld that information from the defense during the original trial. On September 19, 2022, Maryland prosecutors vacated the conviction against Adnan Syed. Syed was put on house arrest and had to wear an ankle monitor while prosecutors decided whether or not they wanted to try him again. Judge Melissa Finn gave the state 30 days to either set a new trial date or dismiss the case. In October, prosecutors confirmed that they would not seek another trial for Syed. As Maryland State Attorney Marilyn Mosby said at the time,
"I've utilized my power and discretion to dismiss the case. There's no more appeal. It's moot."
However, in March 2023, the Maryland Appeals Court ruled in favor of an appeal filed by Lee's family, claiming that they were not properly notified of the hearing overseeing the motion to vacate Syed's conviction. The previous murder charges were reinstated after the ruling, and a new hearing will be held that addresses the evidence that supported the vacation of Syed's conviction.